Hey everyone, Ryan Young, Kama Jiu-Jitsu. I hope you're doing well. So it's been a little while since I've done a video, trying to do it in the studio or in the home studio, with the camera and the lights and all that. It takes a little bit of time, and I just haven't had the time. Rusty's also been busy as well. So what I thought I'd do is I just kind of put this quick one together using my my phone and my mic. So hopefully the sound is okay. Hopefully the video is okay. If it's not, please forgive me. I'll do better next time. So today, what is today? Sunday, April 7th, 2019. Every Sunday morning, I have an instructor training class with my instructors over at the home studio. So right now here in Texas, I've got 12 instructor trainees, and they range from blue belt to deep into purple belt. We don't have any brown belts here in the Texas campus yet. So these are all people who have expressed an interest in learning how to teach and teaching jiu-jitsu, and I guess paying back for what they've learned in the school. Of course, they pay their tuition. So in that way, it's not really like, they're paying anybody back because they paid for it. But the instructor training program, or the ITP as I like to call it, is something that's different. It's not just learning jiu-jitsu. You have to know jiu-jitsu. You do get extra time with me in another setting. So we actually do work more on the techniques they need to know, as well as we teach them how to teach the techniques to other people at a lower level than they are. Right now, I'm really focusing the blue belts on helping the white belts along, and the purple belts on helping white and blue belts along. At the same time, I'm grooming them to take the next step, should they want to at some point once, they're black belts. And it's easier for me to spend a lot of time with them from as soon as they ask me. It could be blue, purple, could be brown belt, could be black belt, for me to start teaching them how to teach. It helps me to get them teaching the way I want them to teach. And it also helps us to stay all on the same page. One of the problems that many schools have is they'll get a black belt or a blue belt even who asks their instructor, hey, can I help out around the studio? Or they just naturally do, and then the instructor just starts using them, for lack of a better term, using them to help out around the studio with regard to classes and all that. And they kind of fall into teaching that way. That's how most of it is done. The problem with that is that there's no formal training. There's no making sure they're doing what they need to do, saying what they need to say and how they need to say it, and making sure that they're just another iteration of you or me. And people just assume because you know jiu-jitsu, you can teach jiu-jitsu, and that is 100% wrong. I know of people who are great in jiu-jitsu and cannot teach for anything. They're horrible teachers. On the other hand, you have some people who are not as good, maybe, for another one, lack of a better term. They're not as good in that they can't maybe finish everybody, but they can teach people. And then you have the people that neither know it nor can they teach it, but still want to teach it. I myself, I still don't know what the big thing is about teaching, because when I first started teaching, I was over at Kenny Gabrielson's school, and he just kind of asked me, because he was a working fireman. When they work, they're working. There's not much they can do as far as their schedule. It's set. When they're in the firehouse, they're in the firehouse. So he'd have to have people covering the studio. And being that I was one of the more senior guys, in fact, I might have been the most senior guy coming from RICKSON school over to his school. So he asked me, hey, would you mind teaching a class here and there? I'm like, yeah, of course, right? He didn't really have, we'd talk about how he wanted it to be done, and he'd kind of give me some ideas on what he wanted done. But it was more of, I don't know, old school American style, where the GRACIE'S actually had a training program. Well, I take it back. Jorge and Gracie did. I don't know if RICKSON did. I'm not sure. I'm sure he did, but maybe not formalized like the way Jorge and Gracie did at the Gracie Academy. So I kind of fell into it that way. But it's not something that I asked the opportunity for, because my thinking was, and I had been asked I had been given a couple of opportunities by then to actually run a school. And my thinking was, I'm only a purple belt. You know, why do I want to run a school? I'm not qualified. I'm not a black belt. And that was always my thinking. And that's really what kept me from having any desires to run a school. When I was a brown belt, I kind of taught jiu-jitsu out of my garage, really just to subsidize my habit of jiu-jitsu, because, you know, I would take privates. I needed some cash to do that. So I think I had an ad out in Craigslist and picked up a few students that way. And I just teach them one-on-one. I wasn't doing any kind of group classes. I wasn't running a school. It was just, hey, you know, I'm a brown belt. If you want to learn jiu-jitsu from a brown belt, then give me a call. And picked up a few students that way. And I think I did a really good job. I think the way I approach things and the way I teach is actually a pretty sound way to teach. And as a result, they were pretty good. And what I do is I then, you know, have a way to duplicate that. You know, and this is years and years ago. You know, I got my black belt in 2012. So up until that point, you know, I think 4 years prior to that, I was a brown belt. So I'd be, you know, teaching very few people, though. It wasn't my idea, or wasn't my desire to get out and teach the masses, kind of like today. And it was mostly because I didn't have a finished product to offer in myself. And not that I am now, but I'm closer to finished now than I was several years ago. And I didn't really have anybody sit me aside and tell me how to teach people. My approach to teaching really comes down to my experience in sales. You know, a lot of people don't like salespeople, but that's what I did for a number of years. Probably from, I've been doing sales for about 30 years now. No, 20 years, excuse me, 25 or so. And the thing is about sales, what is sales? Sales is just educating people. There's a couple of ways you can approach sales. One is the old overcoming hurdles type methodology, where if you say, buy my product, they say, well, but it's too expensive. So then you have an argument for that where you can overcome that hurdle. Or they say, you know what, let me talk to my wife or my husband, you know, the spouse, significant other. Okay, well, I'm glad you mentioned that. So let me say this, right? Or it could be your product is, you know, whatever. It could be anything. It could be the sky's blue and I only buy it when the sky's red. You know, so then I'd overcome an objection to that, right? That's one way to sell. Another way to sell basically is for the more educated person. And I'm not saying that some people in sales are dumb, but you know, the one who understands human nature more. They understand that the type of person they're dealing with. And for me, I've always thought if somebody's going to sell to me, they need to educate me on what they're selling me. Tell me what is it they do, why I need it, and how they're going to be able to fulfill that need that I have. So that is the way that I approach teaching jiu-jitsu. First of all, if you come to me, you're already sold on jiu-jitsu. Now, though, I need to convince you that I'm the person you need to get your jiu-jitsu from. And that's where the teaching methodology comes in. So in a formal training program, like what we have at Kama Jiu-Jitsu, is to teach our instructors how to buy or how to sell the jiu-jitsu to their student, right? I don't mean sell as in getting cash in return. I mean sell it as in for you to buy something, you have to want it, right? You have to seek it out and you have to be open to getting it. So, you know, one of the things that, you know, we talk about is the methodology in which people learn, because people learn in different ways. So in our program today, or in our session today, I went over with them how to teach in different modalities, how to teach to the eyes, how to teach to the ears, how to teach to the touch. And this is stuff that we go through all the time because everybody learns differently. Just like how everybody has different color hair, everybody's different color eyes, everybody's different heights. You know, you take in information differently as well. And a good teaching program will teach you how to find the best way to teach an individual, right? Now, granted, we do have group classes. So group classes are a little more difficult because you have a lot of people in it. And this is especially good because our Saturday training class is not Saturday training. It's our Saturday class at the academy is not one that I teach. It's taught by the assistant instructors. Normally it's Ken, purple belt, assistant instructor. But Ken had some family activities he needed to take care of, so David, who is also a purple belt assistant instructor, took over the class. And it was a large class. I mean, I think it had 17 people in it. For us, that's large. That's capacity for us because of our mat. Our mat's not very big. But he had 17 people in there, so I was there to kind of coach him through. Right? I didn't step on the mat. If I do step on the mat, it's my class, right? I didn't have a gi on or anything. I sat on the side and I told him, hey, this is the way you need to look at it, right? How to split the class up into groups, what to teach and how to teach it, right? Because you had a number of people that were still on the, when we talk about how we structure our curriculum, right? They're at the beginning stages, the early lessons, so you have to be able to do a group class where you teach the people who need the early lessons, you need to teach them the early lessons. The people who need the later lessons, teach them later lessons, and then the advanced guys, how to do the advanced version of those techniques. So, I showed him how to split the class into those 3 groups and how to address each one and how to go back and forth between each one. Most schools, they'll just teach everybody in one group, one monolithic group, right? I have a group of, 16 people, and I'm going to teach everybody the same thing. And it's not necessarily going to be what you need to know. It's going to be what I feel like teaching today, right? You may have 3 people who are brand new meaning they just joined in the last week or 2 weeks. Today I feel like teaching knee bars. That's not something appropriate for somebody brand new, but that's the way it goes. And the reason is because a lot of teachers haven't gone through some kind of training process. The black belt teachers, they're black belts, but they're not necessarily teachers. And I get calls like this all the time from professors in other parts of the country or other parts of the world. I never used WhatsApp before, right? And now I have to learn how to use that, right? I was always a phone guy, but you can't talk on the phone with an international guy. Well, you can, but kind of expensive. But so anyway, so that's WhatsApp and Skype. I'm starting to use those more now. People are getting turned loose into running schools and they don't know how to teach. So if you want to teach, you need to go to a school that has a training program. I think I did a video on this years ago about why you need to have an instructor training program. But you really do. If you want to be an effective communicator of your talents to the next generation of people, you need to go through a program that specifically teaches you how to teach. I can't imagine turning our instructors loose and just saying here. Because what happens is during these instructor training sessions that we do, and Dave does them in California as well, during these sessions, what we need to do is make sure that everybody's on the same page. You're teaching the same thing in the same way. So for instance, today on a guillotine escape from standing, we had to clarify with an instructor exactly how it needs to be done. Every instructor may do their own variation on a particular technique. In this case, it was standing guillotine escape. But what they need to do is they need to teach the standard technique, the standard technique within your academy. Right now, then every academy may do something a little bit different, and that's fine. I mean, that's what you do. That's why you have your academy. That's why you personalize it, right? I try not to personalize it. I just try to do whatever Dave, however Dave teaches something, the method that he does it. Yes, the wording may come out different because he and I am me. So, but the steps, put your hand here, put your foot here. Everything should be exactly the same, and for our instructors, we have a catalog of videos that they have access to, and they can see Dave teaching something in particular. Now, we haven't gotten to the point of getting all, say, 400 and some odd videos down, techniques down. And, because our curriculum is about 470 concepts and techniques, if I remember right. We've probably only got about 120 of them down on video. But, that's kind of a work in progress. And that's something that needs to happen for a school to get large enough to influence a lot of people and to do it in a uniform way. And that's really the goal of a teaching program, is to make it so you're teaching across your school, school-wide, and enterprise-wide is uniform, right? Because I can look at I can meet with one black belt who's from an association, and I can meet with another black belt who's from the same association in a different part of the country, and their jiu-jitsu is completely different. Right, that is not what I want for Kama Jiu-Jitsu. That is not what we want. We want Kama Jiu-Jitsu to be RICKSON GRACIE'S Jiu-Jitsu, and we need it to be as loyal to the style as is humanly possible. And that is not something that's easy to do. It takes a lot of effort, and it's something that needs to be worked hard on by everyone, including the instructors themselves. Because, we're always apt to want to teach something cooler or more advanced to somebody who may not be ready for it. It's okay to stay basic with somebody who's more advanced, but it's not okay to go more advanced with somebody who's very basic. Because what you end up doing is you give them too much information, they end up forgetting everything, right? How many times have you gone to a seminar? It's the latest world champion or big name in jiu-jitsu. He teaches 20 concepts and you walk out going, man, I don't remember any of them. That was the case with me. I would go to a seminar and I'd come out, I don't know. I tried to learn everything, I ended up learning nothing. And there's no necessarily rhyme or reason to what he's teaching. He's just maybe teaching a couple of cool armbar setups, a couple of cool choke setups, a couple ways to pass the guard, a couple ways to play the guard. You know, they're so different from what I do that there's not anything that necessarily segues in from what I'm doing into what he's doing, or vice versa. So that I really remember it. He didn't get the idea into my central nervous system. It just didn't work. You know, it ended up being a waste of time on my part going. And that's one of the things, one of the detriments with seminars. With seminars, you have to really take one key idea and work with it. He may give you 20, but you have to really just take one and go on with it. Now, what does that have to do with instructor training? Well, that seminar guy is an instructor. And he needs to put his techniques in a way so that people can walk out there, everybody can walk out of there saying, yes, I know how to do this now, right? You know, one way is to teach a seminar with a theme. Guard passing seminar, playing guard seminar, choke seminar, armbar seminar, right? And you can even slice it and dice it even further. But a lot of times people want to learn everything at once, right? I'm paying X amount of dollars and I want to learn as much as I can. Well, like I said in another video, you may have learned it, but you don't know it, right? So a good instructor and a good instructor training program, for those of you who are considering teaching, you have to have the ability to evaluate your instructor. Make sure that instructor training program is really an instructor training program, or is it an indentured servitude program? Meaning, he's just using you to get him to not have to work as much, right? You know, I've heard stories about people coming from another school where it's run by a black belt who owns a school, but what he does is he'll come out onto the mat when everybody's in class, come out to the mat, okay, I want you to do this, 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 all right, and then leave it up to the higher belts, meaning the blue, purple, brown belts, to continue working with them, and he'll go back in his office and go play on his computer or something. I say play on his computer. Maybe he's doing business, but you know, he should be segregating that time. You know, you have time to teach your students and time to run the business. But who knows, right? But yeah, I mean, would I like that? No. Where the black belt comes out, shows something, and then leaves it up to us upper guys to kind of decipher what he said. No, the instructor needs to be there, and you know, and teaching. So we do have classes that are run by assistant instructors and junior assistant instructors. But the students go to that class expecting that. They know that, right? Where I can, I will pop in and I will supervise and I will watch. And where I cannot, we always have the Sunday session to kind of debrief and go over. And they all know when you're teaching, make sure you think about situations that you may not be familiar with, or challenges that a particular student may bring to you. And we talk about it on Sunday. So today was a pretty large instructor training day. I think we had about 8 of them show up, 8 out of 12, which is most of them, and sometimes we might have 2. It's a Sunday, so people are going to do whatever they're going to do. And if they have time or they have the inclination, they come over to them. And that's what I'm there for. I'm there to help them. Anyway, I just wanted to do this video. It ended up being a little longer than I wanted to make one. But it's so important that when you're learning how to teach, you need to actually learn how to teach and not just be thrown in there. Because that's what happens to where you end up with a studio where you have, let's say you're a blue belt instructor and you have a time slot and you have a bunch of students that tend to go to your time slot because it works for them schedule-wise. What you don't want to have happen is you don't want to have, all these different instructors with all these different students who go to their classes and all their jiu-jitsu is different. What's the use of that? You can't, as a school owner, you can't monitor the progress of your school as a whole when everybody's doing different things and you know, and there's just no rhyme or reason to things. It's just, it means that I didn't translate the ideas to my instructors well enough and make sure that they're transmitting the ideas to their students well enough, right? It gets, you know, it's really the only way that a combat jiu-jitsu can get out to more of you. It's to be able to expand our teacher training program. But you need to have competent people to begin with, and you need to also have a system to teach them. Because even if you have a competent person but no system for them to work in, then you leave them to their own devices, and that's where you have a lot of the problems that we have today. Where one of my private students was just kind of telling me about how he goes to a Kempo karate class, and his Kempo instructor met with another local jiu-jitsu instructor and wanted to incorporate some grappling concepts into his karate. And this particular instructor that he went to, jiu-jitsu instructor, he's an MMA guy, and you know, I know the guy, and I don't know how good his jiu-jitsu is, but the stuff that was getting relayed back to me, and maybe it was wrong, I hope it was wrong, but the stuff that was getting relayed back to me wasn't right. It was not something that a karate guy should be doing. If he wants to learn some jiu-jitsu concepts to incorporate into his system. I'll give you an example. Chuck Liddell was probably the best stand-up fighter, one of the best stand-up fighters that the UFC has seen. And the reason is because he didn't grapple with anybody, but he knew what he needed to know to get the fight back to where he needed to get it, which was back on the feet. And that's what a karate guy would need to do if he's going to incorporate jiu-jitsu. You can't be teaching a karate guy how to grapple with somebody who's in a turtle position, right? You can't teach a karate guy how to do a guard sweep. And this is just my opinion. A karate guy should never be in that position. He needs to find a way to not be in that position. And, you know, teach them the jiu-jitsu they need to know so that they can protect their ability to stay on their feet. And if they get taken down, teach them how to get back up, not, you know, how to do a sweep and get to a mount and all this kind of stuff, or take his back, you know, because you're not going to out grapple a grappler, right? Even if you take the back of an experienced grappler and you're a karate guy, you won't have the position for very long, and you'll end up staying on the ground and getting your ass beat. You know, it's the job of an instructor to be able to decipher what the student is trying to do and then go from there. But if you weren't taught that as an instructor, how are you going to be able to teach that? That's really all I got for this particular subject. And, you know, I appreciate you guys watching our channel and subscribing and hitting the bell and your comments. You know, those, I think a few of you have been jumping on our Patreon channel to kind of learn, to see how we do things, how we teach things. There's some good stuff on there that you guys want to see. And we've been getting a lot of calls about coming out to visit academies, and also getting a lot of you coming out to visit us as well. We want to get out there to teach you and to show you what we do and why what Rickson Gracie did was the best jiu-jitsu ever. And it's really up to you to determine if that's what you want. And if you want us out to come and teach you, let us know. You know, contact us directly on the Facebook page, and we can work something out for you guys. You can also email us, kamatjujitsu@gmail.com, and we can make this happen. This year is already 1/3 over, well, 1/4 over. So, you know, here we are, early April. So we don't have much time left. Our November and December is booked up already. We're done for that. So we're booking kind of for the summer and the fall. We've got some things working in there as well, but if you want to get us out, just, you know, let us know. We'll be happy to work something out with you. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Take care. Happy training. Bye-bye now.